Tonight, lending a hand. Victorian emergency personnel head north as Queensland braces for more wild weather. Also tonight, end-of-year assault. Ukraine says Russia has launched its biggest aerial bombardment since the war began. Muggles and puggles. Conservationists rally against a Harry Potter event on the Mornington Peninsula. And a winner declared in the Sydney to Hobart as half the fleet remains at sea. Good evening, Iskhander Razak with ABC News. More than 100 emergency personnel from Victoria have flown to Queensland as intense storms continue to batter parts of the state. 2 people have been hospitalised after lightning struck their vehicles in separate incidents north of Brisbane. And the weather has hampered efforts to reconnect nearly 30,000 people left without power since Christmas night.
Groundhog Day in southeast Queensland. Dark skies loomed over the Sunshine Coast, with some parts getting 67 mils in just half an hour. 93-kilometre-an-hour winds swept through Gympie. Giant hail fell near Tara on the western Darling Downs. After intense heat yesterday, rain cleared popular summer outing spots in Brisbane. Another 7,000 people lost power across the Moreton Bay region and the Sunshine Coast, adding to the 28,000 still without power since Christmas. And there's a long wait still ahead.
Those storms today could well delay those reconnection timeframes, although we do still expect that most people will be reconnected by the 5th of January, that's Friday.
Today, 100 SES volunteers were deployed from Victoria to assist weary local crews.
It may be that they request us in Victoria to deploy another number of teams.
Helpers willing to put their own summer plans on hold.
I did have a fantastic barbecue planned.
At Mudgee Bar on the Gold Coast, the local football club has transformed into a recharge hub.
As every day goes on, people are starting to struggle more for general facilities like showers.
A simple gesture gratefully accepted by those nearly a week without power.
Community people have come and volunteered their time to give us some breakfast and tea and coffee. We can charge our phones and reconnect with people.
Today, the Federal Emergency Minister defended criticism of the Bureau's warning system during the wild Christmas storms.
Unfortunately, the reality is that climate change means that we are going to be living through more unpredictable weather.
Extreme summer weather, the new norm.
The number of different events that I've been involved in which have been described as unprecedented, I've lost count of.
Tomorrow, tens of thousands of people are expected to gather here at South Bank and on the Gold Coast to ring in the new year with fireworks. But the weather isn't likely to improve.
Unfortunately, there is going to be the risk of thunderstorms through many locations across the state.
In particular, the Bureau warns central Queensland could be in the firing line tomorrow. Jemima Burt, ABC News, Brisbane.
Russia has pounded cities across Ukraine in one of the largest assaults in months, killing at least 31 people. For several hours, missiles, drones and debris slammed into factories, schools and hospitals. Ukraine had been warning Russia could be stockpiling missiles to launch major air assaults as the cold weather begins, reminiscent of Moscow's winter campaign last year.
In Ukraine's capital, a downed missile strikes the top of an apartment block. The city's skyline filled with smoke after several buildings were destroyed.
I was woken up at 7:30 by a horrible sound. It was so frightening. The missile was flying and everything was buzzing, so noisy.
A few days ago, our army shot down 3 Russian aircraft, then sank one of their ships. So I knew they would retaliate.
Kyiv is for the most part protected by air defence. But this time, the scale of the strikes proved overwhelming.
This is yet another sign for our partners to strengthen Ukraine with the required amount of air defence so that we could become the shield between the aggressor and Europe.
In Kharkiv, rescuers freed this man from under the rubble. Local authorities say more than 20 missiles struck the city. In Dnipro, a shopping centre was hit and a maternity hospital was ruined.
This morning at 7 o'clock, the war came to us too. Straight to our wards, straight to our delivery rooms. We were waiting for the new year, new lives to come to our maternity hospital.
Some of the deadliest attacks occurred in the southern city of Zaporizhia. Poland's president met with security officials after claims a Russian missile briefly crossed its border. In the embattled frontline city of Avdiivka, Ukraine's president celebrated the courage of his troops.
As everywhere on the front line, Donetsk, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Kherson, the left bank, it's difficult. It means pain and losses. Those are people that keep Ukraine alive.
A presidential salute to the Ukrainian soldiers fighting to push Russian forces out. Steve Kinane, ABC News.
Hostilities in Gaza have intensified in the southern and central areas where nearly 200 people have been killed by Israeli attacks overnight. According to the UN, the casualties are in areas where Palestinians had been ordered to relocate by Israeli forces. The IDF is now attempting to encircle urban refugee camps in central Gaza. An estimated 100,000 Palestinians have streamed into the southernmost town of Rafah, which has already been overwhelmed by nearly 500,000 people driven from their homes by the war. Australia has recorded its highest road toll in 7 years. Here in Victoria, there have been 296 deaths, a 15-year high for the state. With increased traffic during the long weekend, these numbers are, sadly, expected to climb even higher before the year is out. In a bid to save lives, many are calling for a change in the way that crashes are discussed and reported on and in the media.
Joanne Duke was looking forward to the arrival of her first grandchild, but she never got that chance. While Joanne was driving in Sydney's north, a man sped onto the wrong side of the road, crashing into her. She died at the scene.
My world fell apart from that moment. I just didn't know what to do.
Mum, an extraordinary woman in so many ways, ball of fun, ball of energy. She's someone that I miss greatly every single day.
The mother of three is one of almost 6,000 people who have been killed on Australian roads over the past 5 years. The death toll dropped during the pandemic, but there's now been a spike in fatalities. More than 1,200 people have been killed in crashes this year, the highest number since 2016.
We don't really know what's caused that increase exactly, and it might take us a lot of research and a number of years before we really know the true picture of that.
But road safety campaigners say random breath testing and increased levels of highway patrol can make a difference.
We need to get back to having more visible police on the road, not relying so much on the camera technology.
Advocates say the way Australians talk about road deaths needs to change. The Road Trauma Support Group has launched new media guidelines calling on people to stop using the term accident to describe a crash.
Crash doesn't assume innocence or guilt, whereas the term accident is a description that has an excuse bolted into it. It takes the blame away from the offender. You know, in people's minds it sort of it sugarcoats what actually happened.
The group hopes to spur a broader societal shift where dangerous driving is treated as a more serious crime. Helena Burke, ABC News.
And Victorian mobile speed cameras will still be operating over the New Year period despite planned industrial action. Speed camera operators will walk off the job tomorrow, demanding more guaranteed work hours and better safety conditions following a spate of attacks. The public sector union says there have been 350 reported incidents against workers in the past 13 months, including 2 in the last 24 hours. Employer Serco says workers not participating in the 48-hour strike will still operate its roadside speed cameras, and staff safety is its top priority.
It appears at this point in time they're more interested in taking profits out of the country than really trying to get to the bones of what the safety issues are.
More than 2,000 people have signed a petition against a Harry Potter event being planned for the Mornington Peninsula. The Forbidden Forest nighttime experience will bring thousands of visitors to the region next year, but local conservationists say it'll put wildlife and vegetation at a local nature reserve at risk.
Nestled in the Mornington Peninsula, the Briars is home to native wildlife and wetlands, but soon it will also be playing host to thousands of Harry Potter fans.
It's going to be more like the Hunger Games than Harry Potter.
The Australian premiere of the interactive walkthrough event will recreate parts of the iconic series for fans. Thousands of tickets have already been sold in what the council says will be a boon for local businesses. But more than 2,000 people have now signed a petition calling for it to be moved to another location.
Quite frankly, I think it's despicable.
Begs them to change the location.
If my home got invaded, I definitely would not like that.
Visitors will be able to meet magical creatures and cast spells to light up the usually dark woods. Local conservationists fear that could have dire consequences for the area's real creatures.
They're going to be in a constant state of absolute sheer panic.
We understand that Harry Potter is special to a lot of people, but a sanctuary is not the place for it.
This flag marks where the giant fictional spider Aragog will be. It's one of dozens marking out a path that about 3,000 visitors are expected to take each night over more than a month. Some residents and conservationists are worried that the extra foot traffic will damage vegetation. The council says it's confident the event won't harm wildlife and it's working with experts to minimise impact. The ABC has reached out to Warner Brothers and Fever, who are helping run the Australian event. Both are yet to comment, but Fever has said previously that the vast majority of the woodlands will remain untouched. Bridget MacArthur, ABC News, Mornington. For many people, the great Australian dream has meant a 3 or 4 bedroom home with a backyard in the suburbs. But the dominance of large, family-oriented homes over other types of housing is worsening the rental crisis for some as more and more of us turn to living alone.
2 recent rent rises are straining Tina's monthly budget to breaking point.
I don't buy anything that I don't need, obviously, but in the last week or so it can be a bit difficult to make what food's left stretch until payday.
The hobby artist longs to be closer to family by moving from Melbourne's Mornington Peninsula up the road to Frankston. But when she began looking, she found herself facing a growing mismatch between supply and demand.
I can see the smaller units that I could afford are very few and far between.
Large houses dominate Frankston, where just 1 in 5 homes has only 1 or 2 bedrooms. It's a problem strickening Melbourne's growth corridors, like Hume and Whittlesea, where those smaller houses make up just 1 in 10 homes, or Melton, just 1 in 20. Several councils are now calling for a better mix to prevent small or low-income households slipping further into housing stress.
It just makes it difficult for people to live locally and continue to live locally and have the support of their community around them.
Despite the dominance of larger homes, more and more of us are living alone. Single-person households will become the state's fastest-growing household type over the next 10 years or so, and that raises some big questions about where those people will live. Well-planned, higher-density living is an obvious solution to a long-gestating problem, but market forces leave it easier said than done.
Developers will deliver what the market obviously is asking for, and at the moment the market, that there's a mismatch between that and what the planning policy is calling for.
As does the endurance of the Australian dream. Jessie Thompson, ABC News, Melbourne.
The judge in the Bruce Lehrmann defamation case has ordered a YouTube publisher to front court in February after videos of the hearing allegedly appeared on his channel. Each day of the hearing, Justice Michael Lee warned viewers of the court's live stream any recording could be regarded as a contempt of court. Now an order has been issued for Glenn Logan, who is alleged to be the publisher of Feminism Debunked, to explain to the court why he shouldn't be charged with contempt of court. The hearing was considering if Bruce Lehrmann was defamed by Network 10 and journalist Lisa Wilkinson in an interview with Brittany Higgins when she first alleged she'd been raped at Parliament House. He launched the case after his trial was abandoned with no findings against him. As the use of banknotes for everyday transactions declines, there's been greater discussion about whether Australians should pay to use cash. Companies transporting hard currency are losing money, and experts say the Reserve Bank will need to support them if cash is to remain part of the economy.
When Tony Lopato started his business 36 years ago, nearly all his customers paid with banknotes.
Cash or card?
Just cash, mate.
Cash?
Yes.
Johnny Cash. It's good to see you. In those days, it was probably 95% cash, and then you had cheques, whereas now we probably do 95% cards and 5% cash.
It's a reality playing out across the country.
Whatever the customer want to pay, so that's fine for us.
Like, we go to a lot of weddings and birthdays and we give cash as a gift. I'm just an old-fashioned girl.
I sort of fear, I guess, a society that we don't have cash in.
In 2007, 69% of Australians use cash to transact. That's fallen to 13% in 2022. The use of cheque has also plummeted and is being phased out. Card payments now make up 76% of all payments. That's putting financial pressure on companies like Armaguard that transport cash.
The Reserve Bank is going to have to step in and take some action to guarantee that these companies can survive and that cash can still remain as part of the economy.
Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock has warned about the economics of keeping cash circulating in the economy and questioned whether Australians in future may have to pay a fee to use banknotes. For now, she says, if businesses did start charging people, there'd be very big backlash.
Halal butcher and grocer Hanidi Rabah says her older migrant customers would be outraged.
People are very funny even about a little surcharge. I can only imagine what that will do if they tell them they have to pay more to use their own cash.
For now, cash is still king for some. Nasim Khadem, ABC News.
Pressure is mounting on the US Supreme Court to weigh in on Donald Trump's eligibility to stand in the 2024 presidential election. The question has taken on new urgency, with a second US state disqualifying him, striking his name from ballot papers.
We love Trump! We love Trump! The runaway frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination. A campaign seemingly only boosted by a slew of court cases. But now Donald Trump's eligibility is in question, with Maine following Colorado's lead in citing the 14th Amendment to strike him from the primary ballot, finding he disqualified himself by engaging in the January 6 insurrection.
The weight of the evidence made clear that Mr. Trump was aware of the tender lead by his multi-month efforts to delegitimize the 2020 election results. And he then chose to light a match.
The Trump campaign says it will appeal the decision, describing the Maine Secretary of State as a hyper-partisan Biden-supporting Democrat. Once again, Mr. Trump's rivals are being forced to defend him.
It opens up Pandora's box. Can you have a Republican Secretary of State disqualify Biden from the ballot?
California and Arizona's secretaries of state have decided not to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. Attempts to strike him have been blocked by the courts in Michigan and Minnesota, and a decision in a number of other states, including Oregon, is pending. The patchwork of decisions between states adds to the sense that only America's highest court can decide the issue. And both sides in the Colorado case have already asked the US Supreme Court to weigh in. If the justices do take up the matter, it's likely to be one of the most consequential and complex rulings they make.
They're obviously going to be cognizant of the seriousness of removing a major candidate, in fact, the leading candidate for one of the parties, from the ballot. And so I think that will weigh in, at least subconsciously.
5A11 is a vote for Gore.
There is precedent for a quick decision. Remember the hanging chads of the year 2000? The Supreme Court decided in a matter of days in George W. Bush's favour.
It's slightly detached.
Ending Al Gore's hopes of becoming president. Time is pressing now too The Iowa caucus, which kicks off the election race in earnest, will be held in just over 2 weeks' time. Barbara Miller, ABC News, Washington.
Now to something with a result, and after an almost 2-day wait for confirmation, the overall winner of this year's Sydney-Hobart yacht race has been crowned. Tasmanian yacht Alive held on to record its second win in 5 years, with the handicap victory formalised in the early hours of this morning.
The moment the crew of Alive had been waiting for. It took almost 2 days to formalise the overall win for the Tasmanian yacht, but at 3 a.m. this morning, the phone call finally came, confirming Alive's unlikely victory.
Definitely the odds were against us in the conditions in this boat for sure.
Local knowledge proving the difference on the Derwent on Thursday as Alive rocketed home to snatch the first place standing and hold on for the win on corrected time.
It's quite ironic that the skinniest boat in the world with the least amount of riding moment just won a reaching race.
Even the loss of a crucial sail early in the piece was unable to slow the 66-footer down.
We probably should have replaced it before this race. So, but you know, there's the breaks. You know, I thought we had one more race in it. All right.
Well, not only has Alive now won the Tattersail Cup twice in the past 5 years, it becomes just the second Tasmanian boat to win the prestigious trophy on multiple occasions.
I'm really happy to see them win it. They deserved everything they got.
Between the incredible Lion Honours finish and a Tasmanian victory in the handicap, organisers believe this year's Sydney-Hobart will be looked back upon as one of the all-time greats.
Yes, absolutely yes. It certainly has panned out that way.
Kings Pier filling up this afternoon as crews successfully berthed in Hobart, including Antipodes with Lindsay May, who steered the yacht home in his 50th race. About half of the fleet is still at sea in a battle with often treacherous conditions, a race against the clock to get to Hobart before the end of the year. Chris Rowbottom, ABC News.
Australia's cricket coach Andrew McDonald says Pat Cummins is making all the right moves as captain and will only get better in the role. Cummins showed his value as a leader and a bowler when he took 10 wickets in the series-winning victory over Pakistan at the MCG.
When the Australian captain needs a player to stand up and be counted, he doesn't wait for someone else.
Cummins again! So often when the moment arises, Patrick Cummins delivers.
As a player, I think the last 2-3 years have been outstanding, but as a leader, I think definitely grown, and I think you'll see him grow again.
Cummins' calm leadership was on display as Australia was challenged by Pakistan.
Across a test match, you wouldn't know what the score is based upon his body language. I think that's the art of captaincy, is to be consistent and connected with your playing group and your staff, and the ability to make the good decisions at the right time. And at the moment, the last 12 months, you'd say he's pulled a lot of the right levers.
During the second test win, Cummins overtook Richie Benaud to move into 10th spot on Australia's all-time wicket-taking list. But it's his strike rate that sets him apart. The captain takes a wicket every 46 balls, which is superior to everyone else in the top 10.
A pretty special company. The thing that's most satisfying is, the longevity that it takes to hit a few of those milestones, especially after missing a few years when I was a bit younger. So, it's always a nice little reminder.
Pakistan believes that it deserved to level the series.
Pakistan team played better than the other team in general. Our batting intent was better.
Cool. They played well, but glad we got the win.
The focus now turns to the SCG, where David Warner will farewell Test cricket on his home ground.
Yeah, we want to make it 3-0 as well, and then be able to appreciate what Davey's brought to Australian cricket. Probably our greatest ever all-three format player.
A tough act to follow for whoever takes his spot at the top of the order. Duncan Huntsdale, ABC News.
In the Big Bash League, the Melbourne Renegades have claimed a 4-wicket victory over the Adelaide Strikers after dropping their skipper Nick Maddinson. The Strikers' Chris Lynn lit up Marvel Stadium early on, smashing his 206 in the BBL and the stadium roof on his way to a quick-fire half-century. But continuous wickets saw the runs dry up for the visitors. A 50 from opener Darcy Short helping Adelaide reach 177 runs. In a shaky start for the home side, import Quinton de Kock fell for a golden duck before Jake Fraser-McGurk quickly steadied the ship. His 70 off 37 balls and a classy innings from veteran Shaun Marsh saw the Renegades chase down the total for their first win of the season. Australia has made a disappointing start to the United Cup, losing both singles matches to Great Britain in Perth. It leaves the hosts needing other results to go their way to have any chance of progressing to the quarterfinals.
There were moments of brilliance from Alex de Minaur in his three-set battle with Great Britain's Cam Norrie.
Oh, brilliant from de Minaur, he gets the break.
But after fighting back from a set down and forcing a third set tie-break, he couldn't get the job done.
And there it is. Gives it up with a double fault. What an effort from Norrie.
I had a lot of chances, especially in that third set, but hey, it's one of those matches that it didn't go my way. I think Cameron played better than I did in the important moments.
After missing almost all of 2023 with injury, Isla Tomljanovic looked off the pace in her singles clash with Katie Boulter.
Impressive fast start for Team Great Britain.
She forced Boulter to earn her win with a second set fight back, but couldn't find a way to set up a deciding third set. There was something to cheer about for Australia, newly minted doubles world #1 Storm Hunter and Matt Ebden winning in straight sets to salvage something from the tie.
We really had to win this match just to kind of stay. Obviously we lost the tie, but at least stay in with round robin, you never know. So great to get the win and great to play in front of you all. Thank you so much for staying and supporting us. It means the world.
In Sydney, Casper Ruud dragged Norway back into its tie with the Netherlands after Aranska Rus beat Malene Helgo.
He's got him.
But he wasn't as polished in the mixed doubles, the Dutch claiming the tie 2-1.
All over the net. And it's all over.
China has claimed its first ever United Cup win, Zhang Zhizhen beating Czech Republic's Yuri Lehechka in 3 sets. King Wanzheng then completed the double for China, beating reigning Wimbledon champion Marketa Vondrousova in 3 sets to claim the tie. Tom Wildy, ABC News.
Sydney FC have ended the year on a winning note, beating the top of the table Wellington Phoenix 3-1 at home. Veteran Ryan Grant netted the first for the Sky Blues in the 11th minute. A well-executed team goal saw Wellington level the scores with 10 minutes remaining. Robert Mack found space as Sydney FC again took the lead before Fabio sealed the result in the closing stages. The Sky Blues move up to 8th on the table while the Phoenix remain on the top. And Bendigo Spirit has overpowered the Melbourne Boomers to take an 81-78 point win in round 9 of the WNBL. The visitors trailed by 2 points at the first break despite Alicia Frolling's best efforts. The Boomers stretching their advantage further by halftime via American import Jordan Canada. But a couple of free throws in the dying seconds proved the difference. The Spirit with their 4th win of the season. To the weather, and overnight temperatures reached slightly above average in the south, a few degrees below average in the north, up to 14 degrees. Today, there were showers throughout the day in southern Victoria, which became more isolated. In the afternoon, Walpurgis got the high of 27 degrees. In Melbourne, it was wet at times, but we got to 19 just before 4 this afternoon. It was mostly sunny in Sydney, Adelaide and Darwin. Thunderstorms in Brisbane, of course, cloudy in Perth and windy with showers in Hobart. To the satellite, a mid to high level cloud with thunderstorms can be seen over southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales. A high pressure system will approach south the Bight and over Bass Strait through the weekend. A trough will extend from Queensland into northern Victoria on Sunday and Monday. Troughs will bring showers and thunderstorms to parts of WA, northwest NT, north and east Queensland and northeast of New South Wales. It'll be sunny in Perth and Adelaide, cloudy in Hobart and Sydney, showers in Brisbane and possible storms for Darwin. Back home, cool temperatures with morning cloud clearing to a sunny afternoon in the south, mild and sunny in the north, an overnight low, however, of 8 in Ballarat. There will be light to moderate south or southwesterly winds, clear skies and a high of 29 and 30 in Shepparton and Wangaratta, cloudy conditions in Gippsland. On the bay, southerlies up to 20 knots, waves around 1 metre and expected to increase to 1.5 metres in the north. There's a strong wind warning for the east Gippsland coast present. Tomorrow in Melbourne, partly cloudy with a high of 21 degrees and no rain forecast, so cool but hopefully pleasant skies for the fireworks. On Monday, the first day of 2024, it'll be 25, so a sunny start to the year, but the changes are coming. Showers on Tuesday, Wednesday, showers and 25, Thursday, showers 23, Friday, partly cloudy, and Saturday, partly cloudy as well. And that's it for this evening's bulletin. Thanks for your company. Have a great night and even better one tomorrow. Good night.